Natalie, thank you so much for coming on the show today. You are our exercise modification expert today. Love your topic. And I want to just dive right into it and just right off the bat ask you, in your mind, what does exercise modification mean?
I think that is personal trainers and group instructors, we're taught by our certifications that there is one way to do an exercise, and then these are the ways that you can get that exercise wrong. And we're not really taught that an exercise can look different on different bodies. We're not taught how to change an exercise if somebody has a part of their body that doesn't move that way that's in our textbook. And so what I've done with a bunch of my clients over the last decade is no matter what body they show up to the gym in, we find a way for them to do the exercise in whatever body they came in. So if they come in with wrist pain, but they want to do push-ups, we find a way for them to do push-ups that doesn't irritate their wrist pain. If they want to get a stronger core, but they can't do a plank, let's find a way that they can do a plank that makes them feel like they've accomplished that plank and makes them feel like that is something that they can do on their own.
You own up to a couple different titles.
Okay.
You're a personal trainer, right? Check.
Yes.
You're an on-screen fitness coach, and check that box.
Yes.
You like to say you're a women's fitness specialist, which I think is awesome. So we can check that box. And you're also the owner of Barbell Blondie Athletics. So that's 4 titles right there. And then I'm sure we could probably add 6 more because of all the jobs you do within all of that, right? You're probably a quasi AV specialist, right? Tech,
Yes.
all that, right? So I feel that your opinion on where you think the future of fitness is really valuable. So what's your thoughts on the future of fitness?
I think that we're going to continue to see more and more clients coming in who do not fit the stereotypical client that we were taught about in our certification. People who are coming in with larger bodies, people who are pre or postnatal, people with chronic pain, people who have disabilities, people who have injuries. All of those people make up, in reality, the majority of our population. And so if we're not able to adjust exercises for them, then we're going to be losing out on business. And so, you know what, Dory, can you can you restate the question for me?
Eh.
You
Right.
got one, I get one.
Take 2. All right. Okay. I'm going to go right to the question because I'll probably keep my little intro about how many titles you have. So then I'll go right into the question. Here we go.
Sure.
So I'd love to know what your opinion. Now let's try this again. I value what your opinion is on what you see as the future of fitness.
Is that the question? I was waiting for you to say something else, Dory.
Okay, I think I read it wrong. Okay, so on our cheat sheet, this is funny. I swear to God, my marketing girl is going to use this as a blooper. She's telling you she's going to use this. She loves to like do this stuff. So look for us on social media. Okay, I'm going to go to the question, and I read it wrong this second time. Why do you think this is the future of fitness? So why do you think exercise modification is the future of fitness? So let's try this again. Here we
Great.
go. Are you ready?
Yes.
So Natalie, I value your opinion on exercise modification. So I'd like for you to kind of express what you think. Why do you think exercise modification is the future of fitness?
I think that we're going to be seeing more and more bodies who are coming into us with injuries, who are coming into us with chronic pain, people who are pre and postnatal, people in larger bodies, people with disabilities, all of these people who want to participate in fitness. And the only way that we as the fitness industry are going to be able to keep up with them is if we figure out a way to include them and make exercise accessible to all bodies, not just those bodies that we learned about in our certifications.
I think the key word there is inclusion. And I appreciate that you labeled people with disabilities, people of all levels of fitness, people with all body shapes, and, how much can they do? Can they lift? Can't they lift? So I appreciate that you use the word inclusion. I think that's definitely a pop culture thing right now and the future of fitness.
Yeah, and there, with all these bodies, you don't have to assume that there are things that they can or can't do. You can always let them tell you and show you what they can do, and then you can base your modifications on their abilities and their needs.
Listen, I have seen some people built differently than myself, and I've lived my life in the gym. They are 10,000 times more flexible than I am. So I totally agree. Don't ever think somebody can or can't do something. I think that's great advice.
Yeah.
So, how do you think having exercise modification is going to lead to improving fitness businesses for like personal trainers, all the way through to like big box clubs?
I think that the clientele is already there. I bet that any personal trainer or any big box gym will tell you that they've had requests come in from people who are saying, I wanted to work with somebody, but I have this going on or I have this need. I bet those requests are already in your inbox. So being able to have a trainer on your staff or having some knowledge about how to help those people yourself, that's only going to allow you to say yes to those clients, to make them feel comfortable in coming into your facility instead of having to refer them out to somewhere else, like a physical therapist's office, or to not even have a different resource to offer to them to help them out. It allows you to be the person who gives them what they want.
Yes, and I've had a guest on before, and we've had one of our sponsors that work with certifications and in disabilities and specific disabilities. And I would listen to these guests and be like, oh my gosh, if you're a trainer out there and you can get a certification in somebody with rheumatoid arthritis or somebody, obesity or, knee replacements, hip replacements. I just think there's so much money to be made for this. I just think there's so much money to be made with those certifications. And that kind of leads me right to my next question is there any money for clubs if they get these? Oh man, I'm really screwing up today.
It's all good.
So it gets to my question is there money to be made for clubs?
Yes, there are people who want to work out and they just haven't found anybody who's willing to work with them. I have worked with so many people who, let's take a person with a disability, for instance. They had been trying to come into fitness classes for years, and again, they would run into fitness instructors who would say, well, if you can't do it, then just pass on this exercise and just, take a break. And this person, they don't want to take a break. They want to participate in the fitness class. And so the reason that they ended up working with me is because I wasn't saying, let's skip an exercise. I was saying, let's find a way for you to do it. And that's why they continue to work with me. I think any personal trainer or any big box gym who's not offering some kind of service to make a modification for clients to accommodate people, I think you're leaving money on the table. There's people out there, they want to work out with us. Let's find ways for them to join.
So Natalie, why don't you think clubs offer it?
I think for several reasons. I think that first, people don't know that making a modification is an option. We were talking earlier about how our certifications, they teach us one right way, one wrong way, which is really important to learn when you're first getting certified. You want to know that you're teaching someone how to do something correctly. But we don't always know that it's okay to change things up depending on that human being in front of us. So that's the first thing. People don't realize that this is an option. You can have a client do a squat differently than you have another client do that squat. Yes, I give you permission. You can change the exercise. The second reason is I think that personal trainers we're really afraid of hurting people. We're really afraid of working outside of our scope of practice. And I would say if you want to feel really confident in making modifications, getting a corrective exercise certification is a great way to start. Shadowing a physical therapist is a great place to start. And watching YouTube videos that give examples of how to modify videos, that's also a great place to start. And on my YouTube channel, I've got a bunch of modification videos that might just open your creative brain and let you see like how many different options there are to do exercises.
I'm so glad you brought up your YouTube channel.
Thank you.
Because I know you kind of just there briefly mentioned it, but you do have a YouTube channel and you go through a variety of exercise modifications. Can you kind of tell our FBP family, if they go to your YouTube channel, what are they going to find?
You're going to find tons of ways to do exercises that a lot of people are already having issues with. So people have issues with lunges. Anybody who's got knee pain, they do not want to do lunges. And so I've come up with a bunch of different ways for people to access the exercise of a lunge without irritating their knees or their hips. The other thing is people are terrified of burpees. I personally love burpees, but I know most people dislike them or can't do them. And so I came up with about a dozen different ways that anybody can access a burpee in a way that they're going to enjoy doing it, in a way that feels good for their body. They're also going to find a bunch of videos on there talking about making fitness more inclusive and just making sure that, again, anyone who wants to join feels welcome in our industry.
So because you have the YouTube channel and you practice these exercise modifications, you preach these exercise modifications. If there's a club owner out there right now listening to your episode and they're like, you know what, I'd like to look a little bit more into this. Where do you feel that clubs start if they want to make this part of their business?
If you want to make this part of your business, I think it would be a great idea. Again, you can check out my YouTube channel. It's under Barbell Blondie. Another great option is having a physical therapist come in and maybe giving a lecture to your personal trainers and a workshop on if something is hurting a person this way, you could try doing an exercise differently. Physical therapists are already really good at doing that, and it's part of their degree. And so they might be able to give some information to your team that feels within their scope.
Now, let's say they get the program started. It's a success. What's your advice on how to keep it growing and keep it alive?
What people could do is they could share different exercises that have come up for clients where they didn't have an answer of how to fix it. If you've got a Facebook community for your team, or if you just have like a point person of somebody in your club who's maybe going to take on this project, you could just have your team report to you like, hey, somebody asked for a modification for a bench press the other day and I didn't know what to do because they've, their elbow's been bothering them or something. Can you share with me some ideas, or can we source everybody in the club to come up with a solution? I think just talking to one another to crowdsource ideas is a great option. I think also encouraging your clients, your team members to just ask each other for permission to try different things. I don't go into every single session with every client knowing exactly what exercise is going to work for them. It's always a process of us being willing to play around, to try out different things, making it a safe place to fail, to find some options that maybe don't work for them. Just make sure that everybody's got permission to try different things.
I always thought I was a group fitness director for, probably 17 years. And I always thought that a really, really good instructor, it's how I always knew a really, really good instructor, because the instructor can do the hardest, in most cases, the instructor can do the hardest level, right?
Sure.
But it's that instructor that bypasses the hardest level and what I always think shows off up on the stage and says, hey, you know what? I've got two other modifications, maybe a medium impact and a low impact, and they are able to get that to run smoothly during the class without, missing a whole, oh God, this is not going good.
I like what you're saying though.
Yeah, hold on, let me try this again. I've been a group X instructor. I've been a group X director for probably, gosh, over 17 years, right? And I always thought I could tell a really, really good or really, really great instructor is if they showed the modifications throughout their class. We all know most instructors can do the hardest level, they can do the squat jumps and things like that. But I think a really great instructor demonstrates that once and then gets into the modifications on this for the same move. What are your thoughts on that?
I would say you could even flip it around. I would say I love an instructor who gives the lowest impact, easiest, most broken down version of the movement and says, great, if you're comfortable with that or you want to challenge yourself more, here's another step up. And then here's another step up. And you can definitely tailor it to the level of participants in your class or to the level of the client that you're working with. But I love normalizing modifications for people and saying like, this isn't only available to you just because you can't do this traditional exercise. This is available to you always. And I think that normalizing modifications that way kind of takes away a little bit of the stigma that people might have around them. Like, oh, I only have to do that if I'm a beginner or if I'm not good enough at this. No, it's available to everybody.
I like the sensitivity that you just took on that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I was thinking while you were talking too, another maybe cool idea, I'll see what you think on this, would be neat on your social media page that maybe once a day or once a week, you just did an exercise modification, like take a basic squat and then show different modifications. Be kind of something cool, I thought, for social media.
Dory, have you been on my Instagram? Because that's exactly what I do on there.
I know, it's just the way for me to get you to talk about it.
Oh, okay. I see. It was a subtle way. Yes, on my
Go ahead
Instagram
and
channel.
tell us how you do that on your Instagram page.
So on Instagram at Barbell Blondie, I have a bunch of other videos on there. I love to give modifications for things. I love to say, if you're experiencing this, maybe try this exercise or this variation. Also, something else I really enjoy doing is remixing other advanced workout videos. So like you were saying with those instructors who do the super fancy, cool exercises, those are so much fun to watch. And yes, they definitely show off your strength. I love to watch those videos and then do a side-by-side of myself doing a modified variation, so that maybe if you're watching those videos at home and thinking, I would love to be able to do that workout, but there's just no way I'm ever going to get there. Oh, here's a beginner version, or here's a modified variation that I can try and work up to it.
It's funny. I shouldn't say it's funny, but I guess should say it's really made me think listening to you about all the years of certifications that I have taken. And it was like learn and regurgitate if you wanted to pass the certification. I think back now, and I won't say which certifications, but I don't think there was any room for modifications when you were getting tested or graded, or you had to send a video in. They kind of wanted to see exactly what you were taught or what, the lesson that you had to learn. And then, like I said, regurgitate it.
Yeah. And I think that, there's definitely a good reason for that too, because doing our certifications and knowing what we're supposed to know and knowing how to teach our foundational exercises to a client, that is really important knowledge for us. And you're right, there are not a lot of certifications that are currently teaching modifications. They're hard to find. I've looked for them. And so people might not know that that's even an option for them, but I'm here to tell you and give you permission. Again, you are absolutely free to play around with exercises and find variations that work for your body, that work for your clients' bodies. There's really not one way to do something.
All right, we're going to end it right there because you kind of went on an awesome little preach, and I think that would be an awesome way to end the show. That was great. You do you have anything else that you wanted to say that you didn't get the opportunity to?
When you were asking about how people were leaving money on the table,
Yes.
I would love to just add in one more thing about virtual training.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to say, hey, Natalie, it's so great to have you on the show. Do you have any one last piece of, do you have any one last, I don't want to say piece, one last advice? Do you have any additional advice for club owners out there? How's that sound?
No, it's okay. You know what? We can move on to the bizpiration. It's fine.
Are you sure?
Oh
'Cause
yeah.
if it's really good, I don't want to leave it out.
No, it's not related to club owners. It's more, I was going to talk about how people have found me globally because they can't find trainers in their area who are offering modifications. So it's just like a huge business opportunity for people to, if you're offering modifications, people all over the world want to work with you.
Okay, so what if I said, hey, before we go, do you have any other business advice that you could give?
Okay,
How does that sound?
sure.
All right, here we go. Let's count this down in 3, 2. Natalie, thank you so much for coming on the show. But before we go, do you have like maybe one last piece of business advice that you could share with all of our FVP family out there?
I would say that there are people all over the world who are looking for this service. I have so many people come to me from all over the country. I have international clients who have found me online because there's nobody in their area that is offering variations of exercises that they can do. And so if you are one of the few trainers or few clubs that's offering this service, you will open up your business to a huge population of people all over the world who are looking for this service.
What are your top 3 tips for making exercise modifications part of your business model?
If you're unsure of what modifications to offer your clients, use the internet as a resource. You can go to my YouTube channel, Barbell Blondie, and find a bunch of different modification videos on there to find solutions for common exercises. Number 2, I would say don't be afraid to use props. So yoga blocks, benches, TRXs, those are all great props to give your clients more support as they access movements in a different way. And then number 3, don't be afraid to ask your client for permission to play around with different options. That gives you permission to be creative, and it gives both of you permission to fail and also to find solutions.